Hey guys, how's it going? Hope everybody is doing well out there. When I first started talking about self-hosting and home servers and things like that, one of my first major videos was how to set up or install and set up OpenMediaVault 5. And here we are about 19 or 20 months later, and OMV 6, OpenMediaVault 6 is coming out. And I thought we would just take a quick moment to take a look at OpenMediaVault 6. So here we are on my desktop, and here we can see that this is where you can download the most recent version of OpenMediaVault. Like I mentioned, this is version 6 here, and there are a few different files to download. What you're going to want to download, though, is this top link right here. I will have that in the description down below, so you can just jump over here and download that. And then once you do that, of course, you'll need to go ahead and then make your own bootable media, that sort of thing, just like you would do for any operating system install. Now, for the sake of this video, because I don't have any extra hardware laying around that I can install on directly, what I'm going to do is set this up in a virtual machine, but the install process will be the same, more or less, depending on your hardware. So if we take a look over here, here I've got my Synology DS16X or 1621XS Plus, and right here you can see that I've got a virtual machine set up. This is my OpenMediaVault 6 tutorial machine, and if I do an edit, here you can see I'm giving it 4 cores and 4 gigs of RAM, and then I've also got a 50 gig drive for my installation, for the OpenMediaVault installation itself, as well as a 100 gig drive set up for Docker and things like that. So that is what I've got set up here, just a default network. I'm going to boot from that ISO that I've downloaded, and the permissions are set up for my users. So all I've got to do at this point is go ahead and just power that on. And basically, once that does its thing, I can click connect. And here is basically what you should see once you get your USB plugged in to whatever PC you're going to use for this and boot it up via USB. I'm going to go ahead and install this just like normal. So we're going to go through this process here pretty quickly. Installing OpenMediaVault isn't terribly, there's not a lot involved in it. It's a lot of just clicking next and, of course, making the appropriate selections as you go. So I'm going to select English as my language. Here, my location or my country, I'm going to select United States. My key mapping to use will be American English for my keyboard. So of course, now, like it says, it's loading additional components. So we'll give this a moment to do what it needs to do, and then we should be able to move on to the next steps here. Okay, so for the host name, I'm going to change this to my OMV6, like so. And then this will just be the first part of the domain name that we'll use to access this. The second part will be local. So we'll go ahead and click continue there. So we should be able to, once this is up and running, well, let me do this real quick. So once this sets up, we should actually be able to go to myomv6.local and be able to access our dashboard and that sort of thing. So now I'll select my time zone. And here it's saying, hey, we found more than one storage device. Just be aware of that. Like, well, yeah, you should have. I made 2 of them. So right now here we can see that we've got one that's about 50 gigs and one that's about 100 gigs, give or take, depending on what version of gigabytes you use here. So we're going to go ahead and install on this 53 gig storage for our operating system. Again, we're going to use that extra 100 gigs for Docker containers and things like that. Of course, here, like it says, it's installing the system. This will take a few minutes. So this will depend greatly on your hardware, like your CPU, your RAM, your storage, things like that. All of those will play into how fast this will install on your system. But this shouldn't take too long, and then we'll come back. Okay, so now it's going to configure the package manager for the Debian archive mirror country. Again, I'm going to select United States. I'm just going to use the default here. That's fine. I'm not going to use a proxy, so I can just click continue. Okay, so here it says the installation is complete. So now it's time to boot into your new system. Make sure to remove the installation media so that you do boot into the new system rather than restarting the installation. So we're going to go ahead and click continue. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and boot in. So here we are on the local login screen. And conveniently, none of those IP addresses do me any good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to log in as root. There we go. And then I can do IP ADDR show. And here we go, down here in kind of this big mess. We can see it's 1.66. So let's do my OMV6.local. Oops. There we go. And if you're familiar with OpenMediaVault 5 or below, this is a very fancy login screen here with the animated background, that sort of thing. So our username is going to be admin, and our password is going to be OpenMediaVault by default. So OpenMediaVault like so, and then we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and get logged in there. So the dashboard hasn't been configured yet. So let's go over here to our settings page. Here are all of the available assets that we can have included in our dashboard. So let's start with some system information. Let's do memory. Memory is always a good one to have on there as well. Let's see, services. We like to know what our services available are. CPU. Let's do CPU usage below that. File systems. Actually, you know what I want? I want networks above that. We'll do file system status. And you don't have to use all of these. You can pick and choose what you want, but I'm going to put them all up here. I'm actually going to put this right there below services, and then load average. I guess I'll actually put it right there. And I'll click save. And here is our fancy new dashboard for all of the different things that we've got available here. I really do like that they give you the option to do this. And it's just, this is your homepage now, rather than that stupid thing they had in OpenMediaVault 5. But this looks much nicer here. Basically, at this point, we can, here is kind of what I was talking about a minute ago. But if we come in here to Workbench, this is where we can set, if we need to change the port for OpenMediaVault 6, we can do that here. I'm just going to go ahead and change that to 81. I'm sure something else is going to want port 80 at some point, so I'll go ahead and do that. And then we're going to disable our logout. Now, look, I'm only doing this because I'll be the only one on this system. Now, if you've got other people on your network who are tech savvy and you don't want them getting in here, definitely change this auto logout to something reasonable for your needs. If you want to enable SSH for this, you can do that. You'll just want to, or SSL TLS, that's what I meant. If you want to do that, you can do that here. You'll just have to make sure that you've got an SSL that you can use for that. I'm going to go ahead and click save here. And then we can kind of work our way down over here. Time zone. Again, I'm going to select maybe. Let's scroll down. I'm going to look for Denver here. Of course, you'll want to change that for your local area there. Click save. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack these saves basically. So I'm going to change a bunch of stuff. And then once I'm ready, then I'll come up here and click the apply button up at the top. Notification settings, if you wanted to set up notifications, which I highly encourage, you can go ahead and turn this on. Change your, or put in your SMTP server information here with all of your logins, that sort of thing. And then it will actually send an email via your SMTP server so that it shouldn't get lost in spam, that sort of thing. We've also got, so we've got notifications here. Over here, we can choose what notifications we'd like to receive. Definitely check those for any of your needs there. Power management, you've got some options for what kind of things you want to do. With power management, we can go over here to scheduled tasks. If you wanted to reboot at a certain time or whatever, you can put your scheduled tasks in here. Monitoring is enabled by default. You can turn that on and off depending on what your needs are. Certificates, this is where you would upload certificates for SSL or your SSH keys, that sort of thing. Update management, there may be some updates here. You can choose what kind of updates you want to receive, whether they're pre-release or community maintained updates. We can check for updates here. Let's click reload. Let's see if we've got anything or install updates. Before we do that, let's actually check the little apply box up here, just so we don't lose any settings in the meantime. So apparently it's doing a reboot of some variety here. Oh, and this actually failed. It took me a minute. This actually failed because I changed the port to port 81. Hey, look at that. Let's get logged back in here. We've got update management, like we had talked about before. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and just run updates here. Let's see what it does. Maybe it's got some good stuff for us. I believe this is still fairly early release for OpenMediaVault 6, so let's go ahead and just let it do whatever updates it needs to do here. Okay, so I've been sitting here for several minutes waiting for this to do something, and it just hasn't. So I actually opened up this same window, or the same URL in a different window. All of the updates are done, so that's something to be aware of, is that you will probably not get any sort of notification saying that the updates have actually been completed. So that's just something to be aware of. This is my first time going through this process with regards to those updates and not getting a response. So that's just something that I just learned as well. So we've done our updates. Now normally, so here we've got all of these different plugins that we can install, just like we did in OpenMediaVault 5 and even 4, but one of the things has changed a little bit. In fact, it even changed while 5 was still in play, and that is installing additional things for the OMV Extras. Early on in OpenMediaVault 5, there was a plugin that you could download and install. With OMV 6 and even part of OMV 5, I believe, you end up just having to run a script in SSH. So let's actually do that now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up do Windows PowerShell like so, and I'll do SSH, and I'll do root at 192.168.1.166, and we'll say yes. Like so, and there we go. So now let me pull up my notes down here. This will be available in the description down below, just like I try to do all the time. So don't worry about not being able to see this. Basically, it's just get this script and then run it is basically all that says. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And it's going to go ahead and install OMV Extras for us so that we can install things like Docker and Portainer and Yacht, things like that are just easier to do with this setup natively. So we'll give this a minute to do its thing. Then we'll refresh OpenMediaVault on my desktop there. And then we should be able to do things like install Docker and Portainer and that. Now, I guess while that's doing its thing, we can actually take a look at some of these plugins that are in here. We've got Clam Antivirus, we've got Disk Stats, we've got a forked DAP server plugin. We've got logical volume managers. We've got network UPS tools. We've got SharePoint, which is like an AirPlay setup there. We've got Share Root FS, SNMP, which is a simple network management protocol. We've got a TFTP plugin, as well as a USB backup plugin as well, that all kind of come natively with that. Again, we're still kind of waiting for this to finish up so that we can go back in and take a look at OMV Extras. Okay, so now that is done, like it says right there. So I should be able to come back over to here, refresh my page. And right there, now we've got OMV Extras. So we can come in here and we can see that we've got some settings. Do we want to use backports and testing repos? We've got that option. Docker, we can say, right here it says it's not installed. Installing Docker here is just as simple as clicking that button. And we'll give this a second to do its thing here. And I think we're good to go. There's no more flashing going on the screen there. So go ahead and click close. We can do the exact same thing with Portainer here. You can adjust these ports if you need to. I don't advise it, but you can. We'll click install. And then that's how easy it is to install Docker and Portainer in OpenMediaVault 6. Okay, so here we are. Again, the little tracking bar, whatever you want to call it, the progress bar up there at the top is quit. So we should be good to go as far as that's concerned. And if we come back over and take a look at our, if we take a look at Docker, it looks like it's up and running. Portainer has been up for a while now. Yacht, if you want to take a look at Yacht, you can definitely do that as well. I haven't taken a look at Yacht in a while. I have looked at it in the past, and I know that they've come a long way since I last looked at it, so I may take another look at Yacht at one point here in the near future. If you guys are interested in that, definitely let me know in the comment section down below. So beyond that, we've got our network set up. We've got as far as host name is concerned, so that's where you can change, your whatever you want your URL appear to be. You can change that right here. Your interfaces, you can adjust that. You can come in here and edit this and switch from DHCP to static. If you wanted to go that route for both IPv4 and 6, you can change your DNS servers, your search domains, things like that are all there. Proxies, if you need to enable a proxy, that is right there as well. And of course, we've got a firewall. So we've got tons of rules, or we can set up tons of rules in here if we need to, for whatever reason that is available. All right, so for some reason I could not get some of these to work in Chrome. So here we are in Edge. We've got users here available. We've got groups available so that you can create users and groups and set permissions, that sort of thing, based on those settings. Over here, we've got disks and storage, more specifically here. Here we can see that we've got this 100 gig drive right here. So that's there. If we wanted to do that, we could edit that drive. We could manage, we do power management, enable write caching, that sort of thing in here as well. Let's see, we can wipe that drive if we need to for whatever reason. Or what we can do, if we've got multiples, we could set up RAID, we could go through Smart. If any of your devices are Smart compatible, they probably should be. We can go to file systems. Let's add a new file system here. Let's just call this, let's use that 100 gig drive there. We're going to do ext4. We do have BTRFS, ext3, F2FS, JFS, and XFS for different file systems, depending on what your needs are. I'm going to use ext4 here and click Save. And then it should go through this process of creating our file system. Looks like the first part has been completed. And now, there we go. We're done, so we can go and click Close there. And we can, oops, go ahead and select that drive there. And we can give it a comment. I'll just call this Files. And click Save. And we're going to, and then it says, hey, do you want to mount this? Yes, I do. I like that they've added that step. Before you had to manually go back and remember to mount that. So I'm glad that that was an option to do that automatically. So I'll just go ahead and click Save. And yes, up in that yellow bar. I also like that they kept the yellow bar, not because it's yellow or because I like the color yellow, but because it was a good, clean transition from one system to the other. It was familiar enough to make sense. So here we've got that. We've got our file system set up. So if we wanted to, we could come over here and create a shared folder here like so. You can set your permissions however you like to set them. When I set these things up for tutorials and that sort of thing, I leave it to everybody can read and write. I know that that's not everybody's preferred method, but that is how I do it for these tutorials, just to alleviate some of the complexity of user management, that sort of thing. It's not super complicated most of the time, but it can be depending on what you're doing. And you can leave a comment there if you want to do that. And then hopefully, here in just a moment, we should get another yellow bar up here. There we go. And it looks like, do you want to apply these? Yes, we do. And it looks like they are still doing dev disk by UUID. There will be, it used to be dev disk by label, and then whatever your label was. And then apparently they had to switch to UUID for some hardware compatibility issues. It looks like that hasn't been fixed yet, so that's definitely something to keep in mind there. We can go on to services. We've got all of these different services that we can set up. We can enable FTP. We can set up TLS settings if we want to do that. Oops. Settings, there we go. FTP. Ban rules if you want to create your own rules for that. And then shares. You can also set up shares for there. NFS. We've got those as well. Rsync, if you've got Rsync set up, you want to use Rsync, you can do that. Primarily, I use SMB-CIFS. So what I would do is just come in here and go to Shares, make sure that that's enabled, select my shared folder. Public, again, you can say, do you want guests to be allowed to read and write, or do you only want guests? You can choose what you want there. I always have mine to guests only. And again, you can change your permissions, ACLs, recycle bin, dot files, all of those are available in there for you to go through and set up your permissions the way you need to for your setup. So I'm going to go ahead and just say save. Again, we should get a yellow bar up here. So go ahead and click on that and say yes. And then we've got one last thing over here under services, and that's SSH. That is on by default, which is good in my opinion. However, if you're going to make this a setup that may be available to the internet, I would definitely change port 22 just to make sure that it's not an easily accessible or recognizable port for SSH purposes. And you can, of course, permit root login, which isn't a great idea. Password authentication, well, you should probably do SSH authentication if you're going to have this available to the internet, but just know that there are some options there that you should definitely look through. And then, of course, last but not least, we've got system information under our diagnostics and system logs, processes that are going on your system, services, the logs and diagnostics for each of the available services. We've got reports here that are available there, as well as performance statistics for each of these different things down the left: CPU, disk, load, memory, network, and uptime. So that is all available there. But just so that we can make sure that everything is working the way that it should, Actually, there is one more thing I think I want to do right up here. This is probably one of the first things you should do is come up here and click on change your password. By default, it is OpenMediaVault. So I'm going to change that and click save. And then again, I should get the yellow bar up here in just a moment. You know what? I bet that's I bet that's why these keep not saving. I don't think I ever pressed the save button. Imagine that. So now, if I do that, there we go. So now hopefully this will save. Let's see. Yep, there we go. So that was the problem there. So, oh, the other thing we wanted to do was actually come over here to System, go to Extras, go to Docker. Again, this is up and running. So what we can do is just come over here and go to Docker, PS, Docker and Portainer are up and running. So then let's come over to here. Like so, and then default username is admin, that's fine. So this is a new version of Portainer, it looks like, and you have the option to restore from a backup. So it's always a good idea to back up your Portainer, especially if you're going to deploy it somewhere else or have to reinstall it, whatever. And from here, you can select a file and restore your previous Portainer instance going that route, or you can retrieve it from S3. If you've got a password on your backup, you can put that in there. I'm not going to do that, though. I'm going to go ahead and just create my user. I'm just going to connect locally. There's a big push in 2.6 for Kubernetes stuff, but that is not the topic of this video. We will talk about that in a later video, though. And here we are. Here we can see we're all logged in. I'm going to say never there. Down here at the bottom left, you can see I'm on 2.6. And here we've got all of our different things over here for setup. We can come into here. We can see our app templates, stacks, images, all of that is more or less the same. So guys, there is a quick and dirty look at OpenMediaVault 6. I'm not sure what happened. I had some issues in Chrome there for a bit, but I switched browsers. Everything was fine. So like I said, there's OpenMediaVault 6. Definitely worth a look. I really do dig the interface, the customization. I like some of the changes they've made overall. Very happy with what they've done. And I like to see that there's continual progress being made on the operating system. When I first started, again, 18, 19 months ago, we were version 4 was in a phase out process. Version 5 was coming in, and that's what I focused all of my attention on for quite a while. And now we've got OpenMediaVault 6. Again, stoked to see the continued effort to make this thing even better. So let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are on OpenMediaVault 6. If you've got any questions, I'd love to hear those as well. But questions, comments, all of that can go down in the comment section. I do want to give a big shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys for your continued support. Not just my patrons, also my channel members. Thank you guys. Thank all of you, either side you're on there. I really do appreciate the support. Also, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate that as well. But I think with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. As always, thanks for your time. I always appreciate your support, and I'll talk to you in the next video.